He spent 11 seasons in the NFL with the Vikings, Seahawks, and Lions. He's formerly the host of Good Morning Football on NFL Network, and you can see him basically everywhere on planet Earth right now, including CBS Mornings and the NFL Today. He is Nate Burleson. Nate, what's up, my friend? How are you?
What's up, brother? How you doing, man? I appreciate you having me on.
Yeah, no worries. Thanks for doing this. Before we get into football, the playoffs right around the corner a couple days from now, how do you find the time to do all this? Like, it's pretty impressive.
Well, I had this goal in mind once I got done playing that I'd dip my toe in the water of media, starting with sports, and I transition into entertainment and news. Now, it has happened a lot faster than I expected, but I'm blessed, too blessed to be stressed. And I have enough energy. I'm 41, so I still have enough energy to wake up at 4 a.m., get the show done, shoot some field pieces, and then make it home in time enough to see my boys play football or basketball or my daughter play tennis or volleyball. And that's the blessing, man, is that this is an early morning show. We are up at an ungodly hour, but at the same time, my day gets started a lot sooner than most folks. So as long as I manage my sleep, I can
Right.
manage my time. But as you know, come on now, you're in this business, managing your sleep, that's the toughest thing.
No doubt about it. I did the morning shift for about 4 years. The alarm
Woo,
went off at like 2:50,
ooh,
2:50, and it took me a
ooh.
long time to get used to that. But I'm back in like the sports full-time nights regular
Yeah,
schedule now, so that's a little bit better. But if you can, if
yeah,
and I used to say this to everyone, like for every hour later you wake up in the morning, it's basically like 4 hours. So if you wake up at like
that's a
two
fact.
thirty in the morning, forget it. It's way too early. But four
That is a
o'clock, that's a
fact.
good
That
zone
is a
there.
fact. It's a decent zone. It's a decent zone. But I think one day, eventually, maybe I'll be working the same schedule as you.
We'll see. We'll see. Playoffs, as I mentioned, right around the corner. This
Yeah,
is your time of year. This is all of our time of year. It's the
yeah,
most wonderful time of the year. I can't wait for it to start. But here in Philadelphia, we've got a week to wait until the Eagles get their playoffs underway.
yeah.
No idea yet who they're going to play. But looking back at the season that they just had, I think that they achieved what they did: 14 wins, first round bye,
Mm,
home field throughout the playoffs,
yep,
because of what Jalen Hurts was able to accomplish on an individual level. When you
right.
watch him play, are you struck, are you blown away by just how the ascension happened this year?
I'm not struck because we've always seen the talent. I think this is it all coming together in front of our eyes. Oftentimes when you speak about him, you speak about his leadership ability, his strength, his arm strength, his ability to run with the ball. But now you get to mention Jalen Hurts as a complete quarterback in the conversation with the rest of the really good quarterbacks in this league. And credit to the coaching staff from head coach all the way down to the quarterbacks coach and even the OC. Yes, Sirianni coming in and really changing the culture. Shane Steichen being the OC, understanding that if I build my team around the skill set of its players, this offense will be much better. Listen, this league is built around egos. And it's all about checking those egos, whether it's players that come in thinking they're the best thing since sliced bread, and then they have to be humbled quickly by the vets on the team or somebody else you're facing on Sundays. And then there's the coaches that are egomaniacs. And oftentimes they come in and say, well, I'm so smart that I'm going to create a game plan on offense or defense, and you're going to have to adjust to me because what I do works. I've been doing it for a long time. It's been passed down like a family heirloom, and you're going to run my offense. That's not how it's done these days. You look at the successful teams, whether it's Bill Belichick and whatever cast he's working with. You look at Kansas City, that has changed forms over the last few years and still been successful. What we have seen with the Philadelphia Eagles is them saying, we have a fantastic quarterback who can take care of the ball, a big arm, and he is crazy athletic. And not to mention, when he gets moving and shaking and he wants to run around you or run over you, he can do that like any running back. That's just the QB. The running back room is as good as any running back room in the country. Now let's move on to the tight ends. We have big frame tight ends that can move the chains and also be extensions of the line of scrimmage as an offensive lineman.
Hmm.
All right, I haven't even mentioned the wide receivers. You bring in AJ Brown, who we thought he was good, but damn, he put on that Eagles jersey and he started showing us a different side of him. Devontae Smith is the Slim Reaper and can just go out there and attack and snipe you at any moment. So with all of that, it'd be foolish for any coach to come in and say, "Hey, I know what I'm talking about. We're going to run it my way. You guys adjust to me." Credit to that coaching staff. They adjusted to the skill set of the players, and what we saw was everything working together. And that's just the offense.
Right.
This is a complete team.
That's a great point you make about the coaching staff sort of maybe shifting the way they think a little bit, because we had a coach here in Philadelphia who did not do that, Chip Kelly, and you saw
Chip
how
Kelly.
that ended.
Of
Chip
course.
Kelly, it seemed like it was my way or the highway, and it just didn't work in the NFL
And
in
he had
that way.
so much talent on that roster.
Yep.
So you would think, any coach that comes in that understands how to work with the skill set of his players, you have that type of talent. It was a Shady and Deshaun Jackson, just a few guys I could name, a couple of guys that were as explosive as anybody at the time. Like, I just see this league really shifting. It is a player-driven league, and if done right, it works well. Now, there are situations across the league. I know we're not talking about other teams, but you look at a team like the Arizona Cardinals, talent all across the board.
Hmm.
It just didn't work as well as it's working in Philadelphia.
I didn't expect to throw Chip Kelly under the bus today, but here we are.
No. And listen, you're not throwing them under the bus. You're being completely honest. And I
Yeah,
think a
that's
lot
true.
of people will repeat exactly what you're saying. Listen, I was in the league at that time. So
Mhm.
as a player, I was sitting back thinking, I said, what? Shady's not there anymore. D Jack's not there anymore. What? He's
Yep.
monitoring these guys' sleeps and making them drink milkshakes even if they don't need to gain weight. There was all these different rumors. Now I don't know what was true and what was false.
Right.
But what I do know is he did not adjust. And what we saw was one of the most talented Philadelphia Eagles team fail to reach expectations. And that's what I love about this squad. Talent all across the board, offense, defense, special teams. And it's fun when you see a team like this win because
Yep.
that's what's expected.
You mentioned adjustments. The Eagles might have to make some adjustments when they step out onto the field 2 weekends from now because of the injury to Jalen Hurts. We saw a very basic style of offense that they ran
Yeah.
in the season finale against the Giants. Didn't really want to put him in harm's way, which I understand. But if they are forced to pull back the reins a little bit, maybe not go to those called runs with Jalen Hurts as much, how much do you think that will hurt what the Eagles offense is capable of?
It's going to be a little bit of a blow to their creativity and how much they can open up their offense. I was watching that game last week, and you can just tell it was a very basic, vanilla, granola offense, and they didn't want to do too much, even though Jalen still took some hits.
Mhm.
They wanted to get the ball out of his hands quickly. That way he's not sitting back there, burping the baby and sitting there in harm's way. I think Jalen is as tough as it gets. And the fact that he took some shots and was able to get up and walk away, I think that shows you that he still can run with the rock. So those design runs still might be in there. I think, when you look at Jalen, you're just going to have to remind him, which he's done a great job of. Another variable to his game is that he doesn't take a lot of shots. When he's in the open field, similar to Lamar Jackson, he'll slide when he needs to. He'll go out of bounds, and if he does need to fight for the extra yards on that particular play, he's not going to force the issue. I think you just have to over communicate that to him in that moment. But I think the biggest injury or the guy that the Eagles fans need to be concerned about is Lane Johnson. And it was great that the Eagles were able to get that by. So now you got 2 weeks of rest. Lane is as good as it gets, man. He is as advertised. He's just a big, strong country boy, and I know Lane. And he was an athlete coming into college. He was trying to figure out his position and who he was, but he has solidified himself as one of the best in the business. So that rest, getting that one seed and allowing guys like Jalen Hurts, but also Lane Johnson, who is protecting Jalen Hurts when he's not paying attention to that backside, that's going to be key for the squad.
Good news is he's back on the field. I think on a limited basis today that we've gotten reports out of the Eagles practice facility. So that is huge. There's no doubt about that. There may not be
Yeah.
another person on this team that is more important to what they want to do than Lane Johnson. But as a wide receiver who played 11 seasons in the NFL, and you mentioned these two guys, A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith,
Man.
when you watch what they do on the field, what is it that makes each of them so dynamic? Because they're so different.
Yeah, they're different, but there are some similarities. The similarities are that they're really good route runners. I think route running is probably the most underrated part of their game because we're so caught up in the big catches and the touchdowns, and Devontae being so wide open. The reason he's wide open is because he is crisp in and out of his breaks. And the first 6 or 7 steps looks exactly the same on every single route. AJ Brown, bigger frame, big body. Like I would look at Devontae as that sleek sports style vehicle. I'm looking at AJ Brown as like that luxury SUV, something that you could take off road a little bit, get banged around, and still, hit the highway and catch top speed. And that's what makes them so different, and so dynamic at the same time. You know, when it comes to Devontae, like he has kind of rewritten what we look at when it comes to what we think a wide receiver looks like.
Mm-hmm.
I came in the league. Randy Moss was Usain Bolt with pads on. You know what I mean? Tall. He was slim,
Right,
but he was like muscular. He
right.
was like an Olympic track star. And then I ended up playing with Calvin Johnson, who was just all in all freak of nature.
Yep.
6'5", 235, ran a 4.3, jump a 45-inch vertical, but muscular, strong as an ox. And I played with receivers that were everything in between those two guys. And oftentimes when you think receiver, you think big guy, big hands, 6'2", 6'3". That's what we want. You have A.J. Brown, who's a little bit of a throwback. He's not the tallest guy in the world, but he can
Mm-hmm.
jump and high point the ball at the best of them. And when that ball's in the air, he doesn't panic. When that ball travels, and most receivers give away those telltale signs, which are basically hands first. DB plays through the hands. Sometimes they open their mouth like Michael Jordan going to the basket because they're like, oh, the ball's coming. And then there's also the big eyes they get. Now, those are the three things that DBs look at. You give me the big eyes, mouth open, hands up, they're shooting right through there. AJ Brown is just smooth, almost like Larry Fitzgerald or Randy Moss when the ball's in the air. He's just tracking it, tracking it, tracking it, and lets it drop right in the bucket. Boom. But he's also big though. So if you want to play bump coverage, he might fool you and think he's going to get physical with you, but he'll shake you up with his feet. Now, the moment you're on your heels thinking he's going to shake you up with his feet, he's going to bull rush you and then release on top of you. So those are the reasons why I love those two guys. Is because now you can be a slim wide receiver. My son is about 6'3", buck 55, soaking wet. He's skinny and he can float and he can jump. He plays wide receiver. He's also a shooting guard. All through high school, you have these high school coaches that are like, man, he got to put on weight. Get him about 10, 15 pounds. He's going to be all right. And I'm like, first of all, no. Second of all, the idea that you need to gain weight and be this muscular, big body wide receiver, if that's not your frame, that's ridiculous.
Sure.
This isn't the 1990s. You know what I'm saying? DBs are skinny these days. And not to mention, even if you're a skinny guy,
Right.
half the time they can't even hit you. They can't grab you at the line of scrimmage. They can't hit you before the ball.
Too
You're protected.
slippery.
So when you look at Devontae Smith, there's a lot of skinny dudes out there like, see, mama, I don't have to eat steak and potatoes tonight. Devontae Smith is out here cooking. I'm fine just like this. So that's why I love watching those dudes play.
They are impressive, and man, what a season for both of them working with Jalen Hurts this year. Defensively, the Eagles
Yeah.
have been at or near the top of the league this
Mhm.
entire season.
Yeah.
Are they good enough to win it all? We know that they've got some stars at each position. It seems Hassan
Yeah.
Reddick, Darius Slay, James Bradbury. They're loaded across the line. But
Yeah.
are they good enough to win it all with this defense?
I believe they are. You mentioned it, the top of the charts when it comes to what they were able to do this year. Um, they're number one pass defense, I believe, the number two total defense. That right there, statistically, that speaks for itself. I mean, they were putting in work on some of the best teams in the business. And then you look at the sack numbers. I mean, come on, 70 sacks?
Yeah.
So I think that's top 5 in the NFL history.
Yep.
So these guys can collapse the pocket and get after quarterbacks. And if we're talking the postseason, getting back and making quarterbacks uncomfortable, like That's what it's all about. Regardless of who you face, if you can make that quarterback second guess his time in the pocket, that ball's going to get out sooner. And like you said, being good at every level, linebackers, cornerbacks, and safeties, like that puts guys like Darius Slay in a position where he's looking at that rock thinking he's a wide receiver. And if you ask him, he'll tell you he is. And shout out to my guy Darius Slay, man. I saw a very young Slay,
Yeah.
baby face Slay at the Detroit Lions, came in talking trash. So when people are like, man, Darius Slay talks a lot, he's always talked a lot. He came in. I remember one practice he came in, and we're getting ready for one-on-ones, and he's just a little eager beaver. Calvin Johnson, he steps up because Calvin's the number one wide receiver. I'm sitting back. I go second because I'm the old wily vet. And Darius Slay, watch out, give me Calvin, give me Calvin. And I was like, hey, chill out, young pup. Hey, be careful what you ask for.
Yep.
And Calvin's so chill, bro. He's quiet. He's just like, and I kind of lean in like, hey, man, this young dude think he can stop you. And Calvin's like, I got you. And then he gets out there and he hits him with the catches the ball. And then Slay's like, oh, man, let me at him. He's like, Scrappy Doo, let me at him. And then Calvin runs the route. Slay's right there. But Calvin's so big, so strong, he makes another play. Now, don't get me wrong. Slay made his fair share of plays, and he wasn't afraid to go against the vets, even myself. I had to route him up a couple of times, and there's a couple of times he got his hands on the rock and got a PBU, and I was like, ooh, this young dude's going to be all right in the league. So that was a young Slay. That's why I love seeing him now, because he's put together all these moments throughout his career and now has become a premier shutdown corner. If you don't know now, check the numbers. And I'll say this right now. I talk to him occasionally. I got his number. We reach out to each other. But I'll look in the camera, and I'm not afraid to say this. Darius Slay will be a Hall of Famer. And if he is stamped with a Super Bowl victory, it will be a open shut case for what he has done in this league. When you look back at his resume, what he is able to do up against some of the top tier talent in this league, man, he is as good as it gets, man. I'm just thankful that I was able to see him in the inception phases of his career.
Yeah, he's going to play such a huge role for this team too, because he is going to go up against that number one wide receiver on the other side. That is certainly key. Eagles playoffs. We know that we've got everything starting this weekend, but looking like macro level here, why do you think the Eagles can win it all, and why do you think maybe they might fall short?
I think they can win it all because when you ask where their strengths are, you can name a guy at every position, which is rare. And if I ask you their weaknesses, you'll be stuck scratching your head, and it will take you a while to come up with something that I can argue.
Right.
That's why I feel like they have enough. Not to mention there's this sweet blend of recent taste of success,
right?
The remnants of guys that are on that roster that knows what it's like to be at the mountaintop, and they can talk to these young dudes and talk to guys who are new to the team, and they can tell them like, yo, like when I got that ring, or when that confetti fell, or when I was celebrating with my family, or the months after the Super Bowl, when you explain those stories to guys that have never tasted that, that's going to motivate those individuals. But they're removed far enough to where they're hungry. And you can see that. Like, this isn't a good team that won the Super Bowl. I didn't like when you watch the Eagles this year, it wasn't like a recent Super Bowl winner. Right. It seemed like a completely new group of hungry dudes. And as far as football goes, every team is good in the playoffs. That's why they made the playoffs. Not every team's hunger is the same. And there's a few teams that you can look at right now and you can say these teams are just a little bit hungrier. They have a different type of passion to them. I do believe KC, they still have that hunger just because Andy Reid has those guys motivated. San Francisco 49ers, motivated for multiple reasons. Defense is stout, fantastic. And then Brock Purdy is this magical Cinderella story. Forget about what's going on in Buffalo. I mean, we all found ourselves chilling for Buffalo at one point. I mean, even a devout Eagles fan, you might be thinking to yourself, questioning why you had the thought that, man, it would be good to see Buffalo win this year. Wait a minute. It's all about my team. But when it comes to motivation, DeMar Hamlin and the love that he has received and him recovering, Just seems like that's a script written out of a movie. And then the fourth team is the Eagles. There's just something about this team. They showed up every week willing to beat the brakes off of whoever they were facing. And listen, you can look at a couple of their losses and wonder why or who cares? They had one of the best seasons ever and will go down as one of the best teams to ever play in the NFL. If they can cap it off with the Super Bowl, then we will question whether we should start mentioning this squad individually up against other individual squads in NFL history.
Wow, big words, but I think people here in Philadelphia appreciate hearing that, and will certainly, a Super Bowl here would be the second in 5 years. I don't think Philadelphia can wait. That would be a lot of fun. I don't want to hold you too much longer because I know you're a busy man. But
It's all good.
I've got a Gallen, since my last name's Gallen. Got this Gallen of Questions here. Bunch of random things. We're going to pull them out, see what we get here.
Okay.
All right. Nate Burleson, Gallen of Questions. All right, we got rapid fire here. Foods. Blueberries, raspberries, or strawberries? Pick one.
I'm going with blueberries. Yeah, underrated fruit. And it's versatile when it comes to candy and desserts.
That's a good point. Broccoli or asparagus?
I like broccoli, man. Steam it real soft so it's not too hard. Asparagus, man, you eat one stick and your pee is just fuming. You know, bro. You know.
I know. I do like it, though. Guacamole or salsa?
I'm a salsa guy. Sometimes that guac can sit out, and you're like, I'm good on that brown tint over the top.
Yeah, a little too brown.
Yeah.
You played 5 career games in Philadelphia. What's your favorite thing about the city?
That when you score, you can shut up those Philadelphia fans.
But not.
And they are harsh. They are harsh. Oh, trust me. Listen, I scored a touchdown, had to come back, talk to a fan that was talking to me before the game. And after I scored, I ran past all of my teammates, ran past Matt Hasselbeck. Coach was like, wait, we got to look at the film. I said, hold on, I got to talk to somebody. They thought I was going to talk to a family member. I went to the fan. I was like, see, I told you. Stop running your mouth. I told you I was going to score. I just scored past Lito Shepherd. And he was like, so reluctantly, he was like, man, whatever. He said, I guess you all right with me, man. Good job. He did not want to compliment me. And then as I'm walking away, I'm like, yeah, that's what I thought. He was like, but it's still F you, Burleson. And then I look back, and he was smiling. You know what? I smiled back, and I was like, I like that. I like that.
That's how we do it here. That's how we do it. All right, next one. You've entered a pie baking contest, and you need help from one person. Would you ask Gail King or Tony DeCopel?
Oh, Gail can't cook, and she'll tell you that in a second. She can't cook at all, so I'm going with Tony DeCopel. Yeah, we're going to be in there whipping those pies. Look at the wrists.
Hardest hit you ever took was from who?
I would say Brian Urlacher and Lance Briggs, but I narrowly escaped getting hit by Sean Taylor, which I think he would have set me down for a while. That was the one time I made a business decision in my career. I avoided him and stepped out of bounds.
Good move by you. All right, start, bench, cut quarterbacks. Mahomes, Burrow, Hurts.
Oh, that's crazy. Nah, that's good. Come on, bro. That was wild. All right, so look. Start, bench, cut. Whew.
Mahomes, Burrow, Hurts.
All right, listen. I'm going. Here's the thing. I'm going to stand alone. I'm not talking about their coaches. I'm not talking about the players that are lined up with them. On this season alone, start, bench, cut. I'm going start Jalen.
You're not pandering to this audience here, are you, Nate?
Not at all. Not at all. Benching Mahomes, and I'm cutting Burrow. It's based on athleticism. Come on, man. Those guys can't even hold Jalen Hurts' jock when it comes to speed outside the pocket, running with the ball, and arm strength. So stand alone. No coaches involved. No players involved. Stand alone. So that's for real. And I'm not catering to this audience.
I like that. I like it. All right, we got a couple more. We'll see if we can get them in. It's 4th and 18. Backs against the wall. You need a first down or the game is over. Are you going to Randy Moss or Calvin Johnson?
Bro, what are you trying to do to me right now, man?
These are just, I don't know what's in here. I have no idea.
Yeah, you don't know. Yeah, who knows? Who put those in there? 4th and 18, throwing it up. I'm lobbing it up. I'm going with
really no wrong.
I'm going with here, right? I'm going with Calvin because I seen him go up on 3 guys. 1 pulling him down, 2 jumping with him, and I seen him go up and snatch it. I've seen Moss catch in double coverage, triple coverage, but the physical catch I need on 4th and 18, I'm going with CJ.
All right, I think we got a couple more here. We can make it through. Favorite player in the
All right.
NFL right now?
Uh, Favorite player in the NFL. I really like watching Tyreek Hill, man. I just don't see how he does it. He is explosive.
He's incredible. So fast. Most difficult road stadium you ever played in?
Philadelphia, man. Philadelphia was vicious, but I was
Yeah.
never more motivated playing against another team because of the pregame trash talk by the fans.
Gotta love it. Gotta love it. All right, last one. Person in football who taught you the most?
Marcus Robinson. He was a receiver that played for the Bears, came over to the Vikings, and I remember one thing he said as we were competing for the same position, and I got the nod. He was a little bit older than me, and they brought him there on a new contract. I got the nod to start in front of him, and I thought it was awkward. And we were sitting down off the field, and he said, "There's enough food on the table for everybody to eat." It was a powerful statement that allowed me to always give back to young players, and even now in this business, if I find success, help out somebody else that's trying to find the same success in this space that might not have the opportunity.
Nate Burleson, you're the best. Thank you so much, my friend. Appreciate the time.
Appreciate you, brother. Anytime.